The herd left him before sunrise. He was less than a day old, born premature in the night, and his mother had stood over him for a long time before she walked away. Not with hesitation, with the particular deliberateness of an animal that has made a calculation and committed to it. The herd followed her north. No one looked back. What they left behind was 40 kilograms of gray skin and trembling legs, standing in the tall grass of the Zimbabwe savanna, calling into the silence. Nobody came. Tafara had been a ranger in these protected lands for 22 years. He had seen most of what the bush could produce. He radioed the conservation camp at first light, his voice carrying the specific flatness of a man reporting something he did not want to be true. Newborn. Abandoned. Alone since yesterday afternoon. Ronan Adler was halfway through treating a rhino's infected wound when the call came through. He had been awake since 3 in the morning and his hands were already tired. And the rhino had been difficult, and the day had barely started. He listened to the details with his back to Iris, who was restocking the supply kit on the other side of the room. When he put the radio down, she was already looking at him. He said it's probably too late. She handed him the truck keys and said nothing. They saw Mosey from half a mile at a small gray shape in an ocean of golden grass, motionless, his trunk nearly touching the ground. Tafara's vehicle was parked at a distance. The lead ranger walked over as they pulled up. "No change," Tafara said quietly. "He has not moved since dawn. The herd tracks lead north. He left yesterday afternoon. Ronan gathered his equipment from the truck bed, veterinary supplies, blankets, electrolyte solution, while Iris moved ahead on foot. Approaching slowly, her voice low and continuous, the kind of sound that meant nothing and everything at the same time. The calf was worse than the radio description had suggested. His skin still carried the loose, folded quality of a newborn, hanging in folds that would fill out with muscle and fat if he survived long enough to grow into them. His breathing was shallow and labored. The grass around him was trampled in a small circle he had paced through the night before. Exhaustion forced him still. Iris knelt a few feet away and made herself small. The calf raised his head. His eyes were large and wet and held no fear. He was past fear. Past anything except a kind of stillness that Ronan had seen before in animals that had stopped expecting anything from the world. Ronan assessed him quickly and thoroughly. Severely dehydrated, hypothermic despite the warming sun. Without intervention, he would not survive another night. He looked at Iris. She was already watching him. They carried the calf to the truck together. On the drive back, Iris sat in the truck bed with the calf's head in her lap, her hands moving steadily over the gray skin. Ronan drove and did not speak. The landscape passed grassland, scrubland, the red track cutting between them and in the back. Iris said the name quietly, almost to herself. Mosi, the Swahili word for smoke. For the morning mist that had been sitting over the grass when they found him. The world soft and gray and undecided. The name held. The first photograph anyone took of Mosey showed him stepping through the doorway of the Adler's brick house, his trunk extended forward with tentative curiosity. His ears spread wide to take in this strange new environment. He looked impossibly small against the human-scaled architecture. The care requirements were immediate and unrelenting. Elephant calves in the wild nurse every 30 minutes through the first months of life, receiving nutrition and antibodies and the specific fatty acids their developing brains require. Ronan spent the first day formulating a substitute coconut milk as the fat base. Specialist infant formula, a careful calculation of vitamins and minerals drawn from research papers he had bookmarked over years of fieldwork, never expecting to need them like this. They set alarms through the night and took turns. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. One of them always awake when feeding time came. The first week nearly undid them. Mosey's digestive system rejected the formula, causing diarrhea that threatened to dehydrate him faster than the feedings could rehydrate him. Ronan adjusted the mixture twice, 3 times, consulting via satellite phone with elephant care specialists in South Africa and Nairobi. Each adjustment meant another night watching and waiting. The breakthrough came on the 8th day. Mosey took a full bottle without distress, and then another. His weight stopped falling. Iris was sitting on the living room floor at 2 in the morning when it happened. She put the empty bottle down carefully and pressed her palm flat against Mosey's side and felt his breathing steady. Gaum, the breathing of an animal whose body had finally decided to cooperate. She did not move for a long time. Mosey cried when they left his sight. Not loudly soft sounds, low and persistent, that moved through the walls of the house and found them wherever they were. Iris discovered that physical contact quieted him. If she sat beside him and let him lean his weight against her, he settled. She fell asleep that way more than once, waking with a stiff neck and a numb leg to find him still pressed against her, his small trunk draped across her lap, his breathing slow and even. Ronan spent the afternoons walking the yard slowly, Mosey following his steps in the wild. Calves learned by watching their herd for thousands of hours how to move, how to use the trunk, how to navigate terrain. Mosey had no herd, so Ronan walked, and Mosey watched, and gradually the calf's movements became more deliberate, his trunk learning to swing with each stride rather than drag uselessly on the ground. There were setbacks. An infection in Mosey's left front foot pad in the 2nd week, causing him to favor it and refuse food. Ronan treated it with antibiotics and daily soaks, sitting in the yard with Mosey's enormous foot in his lap, applying warm compresses and talking steadily in the way he had learned, worked with animals, not words. Exactly, just the fact of a voice, present and unhurried. There were small victories. The first time Mosey successfully picked up a piece of fruit with his trunk and transferred it to his mouth, a skill requiring the coordination of 40,000 individual muscles. The first time he fell asleep without needing contact, secure enough in the space around him to rest on his own terms. The first time he approached Ronan not for food, but simply to be near him, pressing his forehead against Ronan's shoulder for a moment before wandering off again. The household reshaped itself around Mosey without negotiation. Iris moved her afternoon work to the front porch because Mosey liked to doze beside her chair. Ronan's morning rounds of the property now included a small elephant investigating everything with increasing confidence. Mosey learned that Ronan's footsteps in the morning meant feeding was coming. That Iris's voice from the doorway meant he was safe. That the sound of the truck returning meant his family was home, and he would run to meet it, an ungainly gallop, ears flapping, trunk waving every single time. At the 3-month mark, something shifted. They did not push him to be independent. They let him set the pace. On a clear morning in his 4th week, Mosey finished his breakfast, stood up from his place beside Iris's chair, and walked out into the yard alone, not following anyone, just going. He investigated a butterfly on a flowering bush. He turned over a rock with his trunk and examined what was underneath. He tested his weight against a young tree, pushing with his forehead in the beginning of a behavior that would one day move full-grown trees. Ronan and Iris stood in the doorway. Neither spoke. After 20 minutes, Mosey turned and trotted back to the porch, ears flapping, clearly pleased with himself. He had gone out and the world had held, and his family was still there when he returned. That was all he had needed to know. The ranger teams incorporated Mosey into their routines, stopping at the Adler house as a matter of course. Tafara brought his granddaughter one afternoon, a shy girl who hid behind his legs until Mosey reached his trunk toward her with quiet curiosity. She touched it tentatively. Then she smiled. Tafara stood very still and watched, and did not say anything. Tendai, a girl of about 8 from the nearest village, had a particular gift with Mosey. She would sing in a clear, high voice, and he would stand motionless, ears spread wide, Listening, Iris photographed them once Tendai's hand resting on Mosey's trunk, both of them entirely at peace in the afternoon light. The conservation area's small group of wild females tolerated Mosey's presence during supervised interactions, patient matriarchs who seemed to recognize him as motherless and in need of guidance. He learned from them what humans couldn't teach him: how to dust bathe properly, how to read the infrasonic communications that moved through the ground between elephants, how to exist in the specific social texture of his own species. But every afternoon, without exception, he separated from the elephant group and made his way back to the brick house with the red roof. He would find Ronan in the garden or Iris on the porch and settle beside them with a contentment that needed no explanation. The clearest measure of what Mosey had become to them came during Iris's illness, a flu that kept her in bed for 4 days. Nothing serious, but enough. Mosey stationed himself outside her bedroom door and would not move. Ronan tried to coax him away for walks, for food, for his scheduled time with the other elephants. Mosey stayed. He stood there for the full 4 days, his trunk reaching occasionally under the door gap as if confirming she was still there. He dozed, standing up. He ate only when Ronan brought food directly to him. He made soft rumbling sounds directed at the closed door, low and continuous, the kind of sound elephants made to maintain contact with their herd. When Iris finally came out, still pale but upright, Mosey examined her thoroughly trunk to face, to hands, to shoulders, moving over her with the methodical care of an animal, verifying that something important was intact. Then he pressed his forehead against her stomach and held it there. Ronan photographed that moment. Iris with her hand on Mosey's head. Mosey leaning into her in the afternoon light that came through the windows. He had the photograph developed and put it on the wall of the room where they had spent the most sleepless nights in that first terrible week. And neither of them ever talked about why. One evening near the end of Mosey's first year with them, Ronan sat on the porch steps while Mosey played in the yard, rolling in the dust, spraying it over his back with his trunk. The ancient, satisfied behavior of an elephant entirely at home in his body and his world. Mosey had grown considerably. His movements had become coordinated and assured. His personality had expressed itself fully curious, affectionate, occasionally stubborn in ways that made Ronan laugh, despite himself. Ronan thought about the morning they had driven out his exhausted hands. The rhino, Iris handing him the keys without a word. He thought about the small gray shape in the golden grass, the legs that had been standing too long, the eyes that had held nothing except the flat endurance of an animal that had stopped expecting rescue. Mosey looked up from his dust bath and made eye contact across the yard. His ears came forward, the expression of happiness in elephant body language, unmistakable once you had learned to read it. Ronan raised his hand. Mosey trotted over and reached his trunk into Ronan's shirt pocket, a learned behavior that reliably produced fruit. Ronan produced an apple. Mosey accepted it and ate with the unhurried satisfaction of an animal that had learned the world was a place where good things appeared. Iris came out with 2 cups of tea and settled into the chair beside him. She reached out and scratched behind Mosey's ear without looking up from her notes. Mosey rumbled a low, contented vibration that moved through the evening air. The savannah stretched in every direction, the same plains where Mosey had stood alone and abandoned on the morning he entered the world. But that morning was a long time ago now, and this was something else entirely. The sun went down over Zimbabwe, painting the sky in shades that had no name. Mosey pressed himself against the porch steps and stayed there, easy and warm, exactly where he wanted to be.